there is no partnership. And how many categories of money we have here? We have also two. We have the premium and we have the principal. Okay, very, very clear example, very simple example. You go to Chase or to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Capital One and you apply for $100,000 loan, right? It could be personal loan, it could be investment loan, it could be business loan, construction loan, student loan, call it whatever you want. If your application actually is approved, the loan officer will tell you, listen, you're approved for $100,000 for 5% APR, annual percentage rate. Annual percentage rate. What does that mean? It means that if you want to proceed with that loan, you have to pay the bank back 105 within 1 year. That's the meaning of APR, annual percentage rate. And if you decide to keep that money for 2 years, that's 110. Is that correct? You want to keep that money, use that money for 10 years, total has to be paid back to the bank is 150. Once you receive that money, you are absolutely by your own. You take that money, put it in a business, you make a profit, you break even, you incur loss, you go bankrupt. The bank absolutely does not care about you. By the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, if you do not pay the principal and the premium on top of it, bank actually does have the right to go after you in the court system and getting its money, right? So it's just a pure, straightforward, interest-bearing loan. When I say riba, from now on, I refer to the interest-bearing loan. Okay. Now this category is called in a very traditional way. It's called riba al-duyun and riba al-jahiliya and riba al-nasiya. Again, do not get confused with those big names. Okay, riba al-fadl and riba al-nasa and riba al-ta'am and riba al-nuqud. All these like big terms are so confusing for us here. Just focus on this very particular category. All right? It's called interest-bearing loan. How about that? Interest-bearing loan. It is the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. Condition for the loan means if you are not willing to comply with paying 5% APR in our example, you are by your own. Okay? Just imagine that you told the loan officer that, you know what, I want to take that money, but I'm a practicing Muslim, I do not pay interest, right? Can I take the money with no interest, right? He will start laughing and saying, well, you can go to your masjid and ask for money for free. We are not giving charity here. This is a bank. We make money. So if you are not willing to commit to paying that APR, you are by your own. So it is actually a condition for the loan in a sense that interest is unavoidable, right? Interest is unavoidable. Once you sign, once you hit agree or you sign, you take the 100,000, then you have to pay 5% APR in our example. It shows it clearly from day one that there is no partnership, and actually the one who is taking all the risk and all the liability is the recipient of the money, which is you, the victim or the borrower in this case, right? The bank does not care about the outcome result of that particular loan. In technical term, we call it risk shifting finance, which means that the bank is just shifting that responsibility or liability, putting it in your shoulder. The bank is just sitting relaxing like this, waiting for one complete year for the principal and for the APR, for the 5% APR to be paid back. No risk and no liability whatsoever. That is the risk shifting mode of finance. I want you to remember this term, risk shifting, because the opposite one in the Islamic finance system is called the risk sharing one. The risk sharing one. But so far, no partnership as you see, no risk is taken by the lender, and there is a lot of financial exploitation, like the bank is taking full advantage of you because the bank actually does have money and you do not have money. And you have to abide by the rules and by the stipulations and the conditions of the bank. So we have a very strong party and a very weak party. The weak party, with all due respect, is your good self, right? And the strong party is the bank. We call this kind of contracts in the Islamic finance system, we call them AlQudah al-id'am, like the dominating contracts. Here is what I have. You take it or you leave it. You are not in a position to negotiate like the clauses in that agreement. So you can tell from the beginning that there is a lot of financial exploitation actually involved in this kind of system. What kind of challenge we Muslims in 2024 are facing in this society. One of the big challenges is the discrepancy between what you read in the traditional fiqh books, those confusing examples. If you go to al-Mughni ibn Qudama or Umdat al-Sabi, riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, riba al-nasiya, riba al-ta'am, riba. But in the real life, you come across several charges or payments. Sometimes you have to pay others, and sometimes you get paid something else. And most of those cases, you do not know whether that profit or that interest or that cash back or that late fees, is it the exact riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited or not? Okay, now our job is to make sure that we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our business transaction, right? Our business transaction and our investment in the same way that we obey Him subhanahu wa ta'ala our ibadat, right? In the same way that we adhere to the rules of salah, and siyam, and hajj, and zakah. When it comes to business transactions and retirement accounts and student loans and investment in the stock market and life insurance, we have to abide by the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and everything. In order for us to be in the safe side, we have to reinterpret those transactions or investment opportunities that we come across. Okay, you want to get involved in a business, you need to ask yourself a very simple question. Very simple question: is it proven that someone is offering money, giving money to somebody else, and the principal is guaranteed, and the profit on top of the principal is guaranteed as well? If that is proven, and the financier or the one who provides the money, the bank or the partner, the lender, call him or her whatever you want, right? If it is proven that the principal is guaranteed and the return on top of the principal or the premium is guaranteed, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, regardless of the name, right? Sometimes you come across, again, back to the Islamic mortgage companies. They try to impress their community using big names. Well, this is murabaha and this is musharaka, وتمليك العين وتملك الرقبة. They give you big names to scare you that we know Islamic finance. Well, they know nothing. They know nothing, absolutely. When you open the contract and start reading, you will find it clearly that they offer you money, their principal is guaranteed, and their return on top of the principal is guaranteed as well. So whether they call it murabaha or musharaka or they call it interest-bearing loan, it does not make any. We do not care about the names that we give to that deal. What we care about is the essence and the reality of the deal, as I will be explaining. So again, always remember this definition. Okay, the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. Once you navigate, once you deduct, okay, in any deal, any business, any investment opportunity, someone is giving money without taking any liability, any risk, where the principal is guaranteed and the profit on top of it. You know what? Even if the profit is not guaranteed, as long as the principal itself is guaranteed, that's called daman ra's al-mal, is guaranteed, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, even if it is called Islamic finance option for you. Moving on, we need to find out and just navigate, unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions. Before we move on, I want you to remember this قاعدة فقهية, this fiqh maxim. It goes العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. I want you to remember. What matters in business transaction is the essence and the reality. not the wording or the format. Which means we do not care about the names that you use for that deal. What we care about is the spirit, is the essence, is the reality of it. If I'm to tell someone here, okay, I'm willing to give you this phone as a gift, okay, in order for you to gift me back $100. It's just a joke. I mean, it's not a gift. It's a sale agreement, right? I'm calling it a gift like hadiyah, but actually it is not. It's a stipulated gift with $100. Well, it is a sale agreement, as simple as that. So even if you call it a gift, actually it is not. It is otherwise. So what matters in transaction is the essence and reality, not the wording or the format. Now let's take some case studies about that, right? Like examples from the real life, in order for us to be able to navigate and to find out what's haram and what's halal. Let's start with saving account. Saving account. What does mean saving account? Okay, you go to again Bank of America, and you open a saving account for $10,000. Okay, you know what? Let me just take one step back. Okay, I made a deal with Sheikh Junaid, for example. Okay, I told him, listen, I'm going to give you $10,000, and you need to pay it back to me $10,500 by the end of 2024. Are you okay with that? He said yes. What do you call this deal? It's an interest-bearing loan, as simple as that. So the principal in my case is guaranteed, and the premium on top of it is guaranteed. Is that correct? Okay. You know what? I changed my mind. Instead of giving the $10,000 to Sheikh Junaid, I went to Bank of America and I opened a saving account. By the agreement between me and Bank of America, they have to pay me back by the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. They have to pay me back by the end of the year $10,500. And I don't care about how do they handle the money. Do they sleep in the money, they shred the money, they lend the money, they invest the money? I don't care. It's just $10,000 to be paid back. How much? $10,500 by the end of 2024. My question to you, is there any technical or legal difference between the first scenario when I gave my money to Sheikh Junaid as an interest-bearing loan as opposed to opening a saving account? The answer is no. It's the same outcome result. So believe it or not, again, العبرة في العقود المقاصد والمعاني. Believe it or not, opening a saving account is none but an interest-bearing loan. Some people might object. Do you want to tell me that you lend Bank of America money, you have only $10,000, and Bank of America does have hundreds of millions of dollars? My answer actually is yes. Okay? We don't care about who has more money and who has less. What you care about is the essence and the reality of the deal. I am giving my money to Bank of America. Bank of America is guaranteeing the principal. Bank of America is guaranteeing the return on top of the principal. Well, that is the interest-bearing. That's the interest-bearing loan. Another example: overdraft charge. Overdraft charge. Your checking account is connected with your debit card is connected with the checking account. Is that correct? You do have only $200 available balance in your debit card, your checking account. You stopped by a point of sale to purchase a commodity for $500. You purchased the phone for $500. Fortunately, the transaction has gone through. Right? How much you have in your bank account? 200. And how much you paid? 500. Right? After 3, 4, 5 business days, whatever, when you checked your online balance, you found out that you have to pay Bank of America $300, and you have to pay $35 on top of it. It's not interest, it is overdraft charge. Okay. The question here again, can we unlock the secret of what's happened? Can we reinterpret what happened from an Islamic finance perspective to find out what's going on? What does it mean to have only 200 and to purchase an item for $500? And the transaction actually has gone through. It means that someone has paid $300 on your behalf. Is that correct? Yeah. Is it like a gift, like Mishan Sawad al the bank is giving you $300? No, they are not, right? So you have to pay the bank $300 back one more time. If that is the only thing that you need to pay, then we have no concern. But on top of the $300, you have to pay another $35. Well, believe it or not, by default, that $300 is a loan, and anything that you have to pay on top of it, because the loan is guaranteed, and like anything on top of it is guaranteed as well. Well, that's an interest-bearing loan. Maybe you did not mean it. Maybe it didn't come to your mind as such. But again, العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا الألفاظ والمباني. You can easily argue that by saying, well, the bank actually is doing an extra work to process that payment and to go after the client and your argument absolutely valid one, right? It could be correct, Allahu Akbar. But I'm not here to argue or to discuss possibilities. I'm just here to establish basic facts. I would say by default, the $35 in this example is an interest unless otherwise proved. And you can easily prove otherwise. Most explicit example that everybody is asking about nowadays is the home mortgage. Always you need to take a breath and just try to think, right? Unlock the secret of the deal before you pass the judgment. Okay? Do you think that home mortgage haram or halal? Do not answer. Okay? Just try to break it down. What does it mean to mortgage a property or to mortgage a house in the USA in a very traditional way? Do you know that you are getting involved in 3 different simultaneous transactions? Do you know that? There is a sale agreement, right? You want to purchase a house for $500,000, and the landlord actually is willing to sell you that house. So that's a sale agreement. And because you do not have money, you go to Chase, right? Or Countrywide, whatever. You mortgage your house by borrowing $500,000. Now, Chase, instead of writing you a check, they will just wire that fund to the landlord on your behalf, right? And those $500,000 have to be paid back, let's say $750,000 or $800,000 within the next 30 years. Now, number 3, in order for the bank to secure its money, they'll just put a lien on the property. They would mortgage the property. So we have a sale agreement, and we have a loan agreement, and we have a mortgage agreement. Is that correct? So the sale agreement actually is halal, وَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. The mortgage agreement actually is halal, believe it or not. Which means, like according to the Quran, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضًا. الرهان, believe it or not, actually is the mortgage. If someone actually is asking me for like $100 loan, and I do not know him well, is it okay for me to ask for a collateral? Give me your phone, give me your watch, I'm going to keep it with me until you come back to me with the $100. Is there anything wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. That is the mortgage according to the Quranic definition or terminology. Right? So the mortgage agreement actually is fine. Okay, putting a lien on the property. The sale agreement is fine. The only thing that we have a concern with is the loan agreement. You borrow $500,000 and you pay it back $800,000. Some people actually are getting confused. They say, oh, hold on. The bank actually is the owner of the house, and that's why they have their name on the title, on the deed of trust, and that's the wrong answer. You will see the name of the bank or the lender as a lien holder, not as an owner. You are the owner from day one. So you own the house, like once you sign, you are the owner of the house, and the bank or the lender is the lien holder. Okay, they just put a lien on the property in case something that somehow happens to you, they can just go after you and foreclose the property and get their money back, right? So end up having sale agreement, interest-bearing loan, and a mortgage agreement. In a very democratic society, you would say, well, we have like 2 segments of the deal are halal, and one is haram. So the whole deal should be halal. Let's go with the majority, right? In the Islamic finance system, it goes the other way around. If it is proven that a certain segment in that deal is explicitly haram, that is way more than enough to ruin the whole deal and to make it haram, right? So mortgaging homes in a very traditional way is not a halal option here. What is the solution? How about those companies? That's completely different discussion. Let's move on. Take some maybe like other examples. For the sake of time, let's just take one example, which is the cashback. Cashback. What does mean cashback? You do have credit card, okay? And when you hold the credit card, actually you borrow money. Am I correct? You do not have a checking account. No, you have a line of credit with your credit card company, Chase, for example. They give you a line of credit up to $10,000. So use that money. You either like withdraw cash, okay, from any ATM machine. You can use your credit card for purchasing items or for paying bills. Is that correct? Some of those companies, like for competition purposes or promotion purposes, they do have a cashback policy, right? If you purchase the minimum of, or whenever you accumulate $100 purchasing items, I will pay you back $5, right? Now again, our job is to unlock the secret of that deal. If I'm to ask you a very simple question, if I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me back $105, what do you call this deal? Interest bearing loan. If I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me back $100 straight, what do you call it? Interest free loan. قرض حسن. If I'm to give you $100 and ask you to pay me back 95, is that still riba? That's absolutely the opposite of riba. Because what we know, like in the principles of riba, is that كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. Every single loan that brings a stipulated benefit, okay, to whom? To the lender or to the borrower? To the lender. كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. Each and every loan that brings a stipulated benefit to the lender will be counted as interest. Now, who is benefiting here? Is it the lender or the borrower? So you borrow 100, you pay it back only $95. So cashback actually is the opposite of riba, and thus it is hard. I don't want to take too much time, but those are just some like case studies, right? Saving account, overdraft charge, home mortgage, cashback, owner finance with interest, penalty clause. Maybe by now you see the pattern here, the consistency, right? That you need to interpret or reinterpret or unlock the secret of that unlock the secret of that transaction to be able to pass a fatwa on it, whether it is haram or not. And the only question we ask here is it proven that someone is giving money where the principal is guaranteed and the return on top of it is guaranteed? If the answer is yes, and you see how many applications we have here, right? If the answer is yes, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. I will open Habib the floor, inshallah, after I finish, inshallah.
What was the statement you said at the end about cashback? Is it halal or haram?
Cashback? Naturally, it is halal, but if you do have some cashback and you're so worried about it, just give it to me, inshallah.
Because it wasn't clear when you said it, the mind, no.
Naturally, it is halal.
Because everybody gets it.
So on the other hand, the Islamic finance system actually goes with what's called the risk-sharing one. Just imagine, which is absolutely, unfortunately, not the case. It's absolutely not the case. Imagine that we have a genuine, sound, authentic Islamic finance practice, okay? And you want to go to Islamic Bank of America, asking again for $100,000 loan. They will say, we do not give you a loan, because actually loan is not a mode of finance to start with. Loan in the Islamic finance system is not a mode of finance. We cannot take a loan for business purposes. Loan actually is an act of charity, act of devotion. You give your money to someone who's in desperate need for that money. Okay, after 2 or 3 months, he will pay you back that money with zero interest. So it has to be like given as a kind of charity, a kind of devotion, a kind of qurbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You anticipate none other than the reward from Allah Azza wa Jalla. And a part of that actually is to incur the inflation, by the way. You incur it. Okay, you give $10,000, its purchase power now is $10,000. After 1 year, its purchase power goes down to $9,500. You have to incur it because actually you anticipate none but the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Back to the Islamic finance one. It goes with instead of risk shifting, we go with the risk sharing one. That's a completely different story. Let's take maybe the most obvious example. Mudaraba. Mudaraba means trustee partnership. Okay, someone is excellent, does have a lot of experience in accessories business or car dealership. However, car dealership. He went to the bank asking for $1 million finance in a halal way, right? The bank would check the credibility and the history of that individual. Once his application is approved, the bank would give him that $1 million, not as a loan, no, as a mudaraba. So the bank actually would play the role of the financier. Now, based on the mudaraba system, the Islamic finance system, if there is a net profit toward the end of the year, net profit, like after securing the principal, after paying the maintenance and the tax and the insurance and the overhead expenses and the payroll, I mean, you name it, okay? If after paying everything, we still have an extra money, that's called the net profit, right? That net profit actually is divisible based on whatever the two parties agreed upon. It could be 50-50, it could be 70-30, 60-40, we do not have any restriction here. Okay, what if, for whatever reason, okay, that car dealer was unable to make profit? There was no profit, barely breaking, right? The bank cannot go after him and ask for profit, see? Well, worst case scenario, they established that business back in March 2020. What happened at that time? March 2020. COVID-19. So he took that money, and because of COVID-19, the whole economic and finance system in the US got just frozen. He was unable to make profit, unable to break even, unable to survive. He lost all the money. And it was proven that there was no negligence, there was no mismanagement, okay, or misconduct from his end. But subhanAllah, act of God, like qada wa qadar, he lost everything. Well, believe it or not, the bank cannot go after him and ask for the principal. And that's exactly what we call it as a risk-sharing mode of finance. If and only if there is a profit, we share the profit. If there is no profit, no problem, give me my principal, I will go back, ma'as-salam. Worst case scenario, you lost the money and there was no embezzlement, mismanagement from your end, I cannot even go after you and ask for the principal. That's what we believe in as Muslims. This is the risk-sharing mode of finance. Of course, providing all the other criteria are matched, like the business halal one and so forth. So any kind of mode of finance, whether it's a musharaka or mudaraba or ijara or istisna, does have to have a certain amount of liability and risk taken by the financier. And the Prophet ﷺ, in a very, very precise hadith, subhanAllah, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. In a very short hadith, he said, Al-Kharaju bil-Daman. That is the bottom line. Al-Kharaju bil-Daman. Profit follows liability. Profit follows liability. If you do have money, you want to make profit, ahlan wa sahlan. We would love to see you flourishing and making money, but you need to do it in a very ethical way. Profit follows liability. You take the risk and the liability, you make a profit. No liability and risk, no profit could be clean. As simple as that. That's the meaning of al-kharaju bil-daman. Very quick example, just to make it clear. Two different individuals, brothers. We have Muhammad and Abdullah, right? They wanted to mortgage their homes. Again, just imagine for discussion purposes that we do have genuine, sound, authentic, pure Islamic finance practice, which is absolutely not the case. It is not the case, right? Just imagine for discussion purposes that Muhammad and Abdullah both decided to mortgage their homes. Muhammad applied for Bank of America and he got approved for $500,000 that has to be paid back $800,000 within the next 30 years. Abdullah went to the Islamic mortgage company, right? He was approved for $500,000 and he has to pay it back $800,000 within the next 30 years. Someone just is passing by, like Abdul Sabil, does not absolutely know what's going on. He would say, well, what is the difference, right? Both of them actually borrowed $500,000 and they have to pay it back $800,000. What is the difference? That's a very good question. And that kind actually of confusion and misunderstanding is not something new. Believe it or not, it has been captured and documented in the Quran itself. It was raised during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ. ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Oh, they said that sale agreement is like a loan agreement, but what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted the sale agreement and prohibited the riba. Let's apply this ayah on Muhammad and Abdullah. Muhammad actually did borrow $500,000, and based on the traditional mortgage agreement, Any kind of appreciation or depreciation is his exclusive responsibility, right? So the bank actually does not care about the market value of the house once the loan agreement is signed. Appreciation, depreciation, increase or decrease in the market value, any kind of maintenance, any kind of insurance, any kind of property tax is the exclusive responsibility of Muhammad, right? They can go after him and ask for the principal that they have paid. Anything happen, foreclosure, eminent domain, like the property has been taken by the authority, natural disaster, they do not even care about what happened because that's an interest bearing loan, as we already explained. Abdullah, the one who went with the mortgage company, the Islamic mortgage company, it was completely different deal, absolutely different. Abdullah got involved in something called declining partnership. Declining partnership or diminishing partnership. Abdullah actually paid 5% down payment to have an equity in the property, and the Islamic mortgage company paid 95% of that house. Okay, it was proven from day one that both Abdullah and mortgage company, both the Islamic one, they own the property by having their names as owners, not as the leaseholder. So Abdullah and the Islamic mortgage company, they both of them jointly own the property. Not only that, 30 years agreement, partnership between them. It's a declining partnership. Well, what does mean declining partnership? Declining partnership means that based on that deal, Abdullah is willing to rent the share of the company because he owns only 5%. Am I correct? And they own 95%. He's gonna live in that house with his wife and kids. So it makes a lot of sense to pay rent for that company. If the fair rental value at that place, at that state, at that time is $2,000, the Islamic mortgage company would ask him to pay $2,500. $2,000 for the rent, $500 for the equity. So he starts purchasing equity from mortgage. He starts 5%, 95% the company. After 1 or 2 months, he becomes 6% owner, and their partnership goes down to 94, 7%, 93, 8%, all the way until he makes the very last payment when he kicks out the Islamic mortgage. That's why they call it declining partnership. Throughout that long-term partnership, both parties are fully responsible proportionally for the major expenses of the property. Maintenance, major issues, not like wear and tear, like anything foundational, AC, conditioning, ceiling, and something that's really serious, right? They share the expense of the maintenance proportionally. If Abdullah owns 10% and the Islamic mortgage company owns 90%, and they pay 10,000% in the escrow account between maintenance, tax, and insurance. Okay, he's responsible for only 1,000, while they're responsible for how much? 9,000. Down the road, okay, after 10, 15 years, he said, you know what, I'm not going to stay in Nashville, Tennessee, or go down to Houston, Texas, where I came from. Okay, it's way more hot and more humid there. So he put that house in the market for sale. Because the economy went perfectly fine, there was an appreciation. The market value went up, let's say $100,000, right? While he was owning 50%. Once that house is sold in the market, he puts in his pocket $50,000 net profit from the appreciation of the value, and the rest goes to the mortgage company. Something happened. Okay, the housing industry went down. They both lost, or the market value went $200,000 down, like what happened back in 2008, if you remember, the housing industry collapsed. Remember that, 2008, 2009? Okay. Well, he is responsible for only $100,000 loss, while the mortgage company is responsible for $100,000. Right? That is the difference between what happened with Muhammad, who went with the traditional mortgage company, and with Abdullah, who went with the Islamic mortgage one. If you zoom out and look at the outcome result, both of them borrowed $500,000, both of them have to pay it $800,000, but you do not know the nuances and the details of the contract. And that's actually what happened when the Islamic finance actually is implemented correctly. Why riba is prohibited? You go to the bank, you apply for the loan, you get $100,000 for 5% APR, you involve that money in the business, you make 20, 25, 30% profit, you pay the principal, you pay 5% interest, APR, and you keep the rest money and you make money. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making it hard and prohibiting interest? Here is the answer. This scenario is not the only scenario that takes place in the real life. In the real life, sometimes you borrow money, right? And you do not make 5% or 10% profit. No, you make 100% profit. I'm fully responsible for what I say. You make 500% net profit. You know what? You make 1,000%. Wallahi, I mean what I say. I came across several businesses where you purchase something for $1 and you sell it back for $100. And you do the math, like how much is your net profit? Is it fair enough? Is it fair enough for you? I mean, where is the justice? Where is the fairness here? Right? Where is the adalah? If you pay only 5% net profit, which is the interest to the bank, and you keep the rest for yourself, there is a lot of injustice involved here. Now, this is a very extreme example, right? Let's go to the other extreme example. You bought from the bank again $100,000. Something happened like COVID-19. You lost everything. You were unable even to survive. You lost even the principal. Well, the bank does not care about you. By the law of the land, by the FDIC, the bank can go after you in the court system and just enforce you to pay the principal and the premium on top of it. And actually, it involves a lot of financial exploitation and a lot of injustice. So my answer is that whenever we incorporate riba to be practiced in any finance system, we just bring a lot of injustice. I want you to remember this term. A lot of injustice and financial exploitation to the system. On the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who clearly made it in the Quran that He sent all the prophets, all the messengers, even the scale, even the scriptures to establish justice on earth. The main reason behind sending all those prophets, including Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and the Quran, the Torah, and the Bible, and everything, is to establish justice on earth. This is what He said in the Quran. Towards the end of Surah Al-Hadid, He said, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. We have already sent our messengers with clear evidences and sent down with them the scripture, okay, and the balance. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ. As if someone is asking a question, Ya Allah, why you did all that? قَالَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. You see? So people may maintain their affairs in justice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants justice to be implemented in everything, including the finance, and you want, non-Muslim, you want to implement and to incorporate injustice. You are standing against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jal has made it clear that riba is Of course, we need like a lot of education as a Muslim community. Again, like to preserve our Muslim identity in business and transaction investment, we need a lot of education, a lot of issues, contemporary issues like cryptocurrency and student loan and retirement account and investing in the stock market in general, insurance, especially the life one, home mortgage and banking. We need to get like more education about those issues to determine, to find out what's haram and what's halal, how to draw a line between the halal investment and the haram one. Guidance College, the Islamic university that I'm representing today, actually does offer what's called Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. Guidance College is a purely online university. It's an evening and weekend college. So Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. In most cases, no classes. All the classes are either in the evening or in the weekend. Alhamdulillah, we have a very affordable tuition fees, and we have an in-house financial aid and scholarships. I just made a very quick introduction to Guidance College today during the second khutbah, saying that Alhamdulillah we are here standing, okay, to fulfill the mission that the Prophet ﷺ indicated in the hadith, where he said that Allah does not terminate Islamic knowledge by snatching it from people, but He does terminate Islamic knowledge by the death of scholars. Okay, so he was like referring to the severe consequence of lacking Islamic scholars. So Guidance College is standing, inshallah, to produce the American society with as many Islamic scholars,